Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the WDTV Year in Review special. I'm Josh Krupp, coming to you from my apartment in quarantine. A lot of us spent so much time at home this year due to the coronavirus pandemic. It changed the way we live our lives and claimed far too many lives. It also dominated our news coverage this year. We begin this special broadcast by taking a look back at the year that was the pandemic. It was a flurry of closures, postponements, and lockdowns, and it came fast during the month of March. Governor Jim Justice closed schools indefinitely and canceled the state basketball tournament all before a case of COVID-19 was confirmed in West Virginia. On March 16th, as the president set new guidelines recommending no more than 10 people gather together, West Virginia's governor held a briefing where he urged people to stay calm, saying something that would go viral online and be used against him in his re-election campaign.
For crying out loud, go to the grocery stores. If you want to go to Bob Evans and eat, go to Bob Evans and eat.
It was the very next day when the state reported its first confirmed case of COVID-19. Restaurants and bars were ordered to close their dining rooms as leaders scrambled to figure out ways to contain the spread of the virus. The state's first known coronavirus patient was recovering in his home when his wife talked to 5 News. The Jefferson County woman outlined the struggles her family faced trying to get tested and learn their results.
When you're watching your husband's health deteriorate and you're becoming symptomatic yourself, I became, upset.
On the day the state confirmed its 20th case of the virus, Governor Justice issued a stay-at-home order. Non-essential businesses were ordered to close. It was that week when the Sundale Nursing Home in Monongalia County became the first in the state to experience a widespread outbreak and became the epicenter for the virus in West Virginia. 5 Sundale residents died from the virus. At the same time, a black church community in Marion County was also hit hard by a COVID outbreak. Leaders from the church told 5 News about the frustrations they had with local officials to respond to their needs. They lost 2 of their members to the virus.
We went through absolute chaos within our community.
Their calls for action prompted the state to develop a COVID-19 advisory commission on African American disparities. The shutdowns in the state didn't last through the end of spring. On April 27th, the governor outlined his plan called the Comeback to reopen the state in phases. State Health Officer Kathy Slemp, who was leading the state's virus response, was pushed out of her role at the end of June. The governor cited flaws in data reporting. As the summer months came, people started to take vacations and return back to normal. A popular vacation spot for West Virginians? Myrtle Beach. Dozens of cases across the state were linked to travel there as state leaders urged people not to travel. As the summer surge began at the start of July, Governor Justice issued a mask mandate that came without penalties or enforcement measures. A stricter mandate was issued in mid-November that now requires face coverings inside businesses.
Wear your mask. It's the only way we can stop this.
1 week after the initial mask mandate, cases were surging in Monongalia County. Health officials linked the spread directly to bars.
What we're going to do is close our bars in Mon County for 10 days.
They reopened at the end of August, only to close again 2 days later.
I think it's completely unfair. It has to do with downtown, not the outside bars.
1 week you're open, next week you not open, and the next week you can eat outside, and the next week you can eat inside.
They didn't reopen for good until October 13th. As August arrived, school officials released plans to welcome students back to the classroom. The metrics that would be used for the school re-entry map were released and changed several times to adjust for congregate settings, adding the color gold, and factor in percent positivity rate into the equation.
It is a map we can trust to be the best health map we're going to put up to make those decisions.
The map also determined who could play sports in West Virginia, something that was met with protests at the Capitol. The high school football season cut short before the Super 6 championships because of the guidelines in place with the map. By the end of 2020, several counties voluntarily moved to remote learning as cases spread within schools and districts struggled to find enough substitutes to fill positions.
We need substitute custodians, substitute bus drivers, substitute cooks and aides, as well as teachers.
The abrupt shift to remote learning in March is how that school year ended for all West Virginia students. and the transition only highlighted the need for broadband internet expansion in the state and brought challenges upon parents throughout West Virginia who were suddenly tasked with helping their children through school.
Some days we sit and cry, and some days it's okay, and some days it's not.
Now, as we prepare to turn the page to 2021, all eyes are on the vaccine. The first doses arrived in the state in mid-December. Frontline healthcare workers and nursing home residents were among the first to get shots. Governor Justice got his in front of the cameras. In the coming months, the hope is to vaccinate as much of the general public as possible in an effort to return us all back to normal soon enough. We lost far too many lives to COVID-19 this year in West Virginia. And we also lost some great mountaineers who were trailblazers in their fields, people whose impacts will be felt for generations. We now want to remember some of the lives lost in 2020. Still to come on the WDTV Year in Review special, how we found new ways to bring you the news you need right at your fingertips this year. Plus, the stories that'll have you talking heading into 2021. Welcome back to the 2020 WDTV Year in Review special. This year, we launched the newest way to bring you the latest news first. And we're just getting started with the 5 Live Desk. When news is breaking, why should we have to wait until first at 5 to bring you the latest interviews, images, and information? We don't anymore.
We have some breaking news that we want to bring you here first on Facebook Live. He escaped the hospital into the woods, and now police are on the lookout for him.
The 5 News Live Desk has brought you information first on Facebook Live, keeping you connected to the things happening in your communities the very second they happen. On election night, the 5 Live Desk was there to bring you the latest returns as they came into our newsroom.
These are some crazy results coming in right now.
We also used the 5 Live Desk to take you live to major breaking news stories across the country.
Back over to Louisiana, seeing more pictures as this news crew drives around and looking at all the downed trees and power lines. But the president tweeting today saying he is feeling good, he is back at it, and he is back at the White House.
Our First Alert weather team has tracked storms as they move through our region from the 5 Live Desk, making sure you are weather aware.
And that's when we'll really start seeing those snow accumulations taking place.
We've also closely followed the latest pandemic news to read beyond the numbers and help you make sense of it all.
More than 10,000 cases reported statewide during this month. All 3 of those figures are the highest that they have ever been during this pandemic.
We just got this into the newsroom just a little bit after 5. As you can see, lots of red and orange.
And we've used the 5 Live desk to tell us stories that lift us up.
Pretty nice comments here. Michael Phillips said if they want to play and can do the job, let them play. And I feel like that's been the sentiment across the nation.
Thank you so much, everybody, for watching us here all night long on Facebook Live.
So when news breaks in 2021, do not wait. Tune in to the 5 Live desk. We know the coronavirus dominated the 2020 headlines, but there was a lot of other news we brought you this year. We take a look back at 2020's other top stories next on the WDTV Year in Review special. Welcome back to the WDTV 2020 Year in Review special. While the coronavirus dominated the headlines this year, the 5 News team was very busy covering the news of the day throughout north central West Virginia. From racial justice protests to a councilman getting shot to an historic election, our team was there for it all. 2020 will be remembered as the year of the coronavirus. But in between the pandemic developments, several stories in the area made state and national headlines. The most high-profile story of the year in our area was the indictment and eventual guilty plea of the Clarksburg VA Medical Center serial killer.
These veterans and their families put their trust in this nursing assistant, and she betrayed that trust and decided to pick and choose who lived and who died.
Rita Mays pleaded guilty to killing 7 veterans at the Clarksburg VA and trying to kill another with lethal doses of insulin.
This was a serial killer. I mean, make no mistake, we had a serial killer in our community.
She's set to be sentenced next year. The revelations of Mays' killings prompted Congress to pass a law to improve transparency at VA medical centers. But the story isn't finished yet. The VA Inspector General has yet to release a report detailing the protocols and policies in place at the facility that allowed Mays' actions to go undetected. And there could be more veterans who died at the hands of Rita Mays. Deaths prosecutors couldn't prove she was behind.
Suspicions about deaths is one thing. Deciding to charge is a different thing.
On Christmas Eve, the VA announced leadership changes at the facility and instituted a safety stand-down.
We're Fairmont Regional Medical Center.
And
proud.
we are proud. We are proud, right?
It was a crushing blow to Marion County. In February, employees at Fairmont Regional Medical Center learned the hospital was set to close. Its parent company, Electo Healthcare, suddenly told employees it planned to close its doors in 60 days, citing financial difficulties. 600 people were set to lose their jobs.
Regardless of service, this is the only civilian job I've known. 25 years I've been here of dedicated duty.
After being blindsided by the announcement, Governor Jim Justice met with hospital executives to come up with a plan.
I want to try to save the whole hospital.
But in mid-March, weeks short of its original 60-day notice, Electo announced it would close Fairmont Regional in the coming days. All of this as the pandemic was about to hit West Virginia.
We simply can't allow the hospital to close. I think too much is at stake.
This place is going to stay open.
WVU Medicine stepped in to reopen the hospital 3 months after it closed. It, along with Mon Health, announced plans to develop new hospitals in Marion County in the next 2 years. A closure that is set to be more damaging was announced in December. The Mylan Pharmaceuticals manufacturing plant in Morgantown is set to close by July 2021, a little more than a year after Mylan merged with Pfizer.
We're the economic engine of this state. If we start to suffer, it also will trickle down to the other counties too.
1,500 people are expected to lose their jobs.
It's going to take at least a couple years to get back the jobs that we're losing here.
Work is underway to find new jobs for the hundreds of people at the plant, work that will continue long into the new year.
I'll never forget this. I saw the window shatter into 1,000,000 pieces and then, the shot hit me.
A quiet Sunday night in September had the city of Clarksburg holding its breath for days.
And then I knew I was fighting for my life.
City Councilman Jim Malfrageau was shot outside of his home. Police say he was trying to stop a carjacking.
Headquarters subject is in a silver Nissan Rogue. He took off down East Main Street.
The alleged shooter was arrested after a wild sequence that ensued. Authorities say he took off from the house in the Malfrageau's car, the councilwoman's wife and her mother inside. The manhunt for 33-year-old Antonio De Jesus ended at a gas station after he drove the wrong way on the interstate, according to police. Malfrageau eventually returned to his role as a councilman, recalling his near-death experience during an ambulance ride to the hospital with 5 News.
I was standing in a wheat field, as far as I could see, and a voice said, "Not yet."
He's now launching a public service announcement to encourage the public, if you see something, say something. Another elected official in Harrison County was in the spotlight this year, but not for heroic efforts. In February, Chief Magistrate Tammy Marple abruptly resigned after years in the position. 5 News later learned she was accused of embezzling over $27,000 from Emmanuel Christian School. A special judge will preside over her case.
Please, I can't breathe.
It was the video that sparked protests around the world and West Virginia. The death of George Floyd in Minneapolis police custody.
We know all lives matter. Because if they didn't, you wouldn't be standing here with each and every one of us today.
Weeks of demonstrations were seen throughout north central West Virginia, from Clarksburg to Fairmont and Morgantown, all remaining peaceful, even though there were tense moments.
Black Lives Matter!
And all the people that actually showed up and support and love, it's motivating just to know that my city of Morgantown is behind me.
The racial justice movement also sparked debates over Confederate monuments in the state. In Harrison County, the statue of Confederate General Stonewall Jackson still sits outside the courthouse. That's because county commissioners voted against the idea of removing it multiple times.
I thought today's decision was very disappointing.
You're no better than Hitler if you take our history away from us.
Have confidence in the elections. We've got this. We've done our part. Now you do your part. Get out and vote.
West Virginians cast ballots in 2020 in near record numbers. The pandemic changed the way thousands of people vote.
Voting is very important.
Have never missed an election.
The state shattered the mail-in and early voting records during the 2020 general election, when every registered voter was eligible to vote absentee. The election saw Governor Jim Justice win a second term against Kanawha County Commissioner Ben Salango. He came out on top of a tight primary race. 5 News hosted the last debate between the 3 leading Democratic candidates virtually before voters cast their ballots.
The Republican Party was very good at talking to all of the voters in the state.
Ultimately, Democrats were swept up by a red wave that came over the state in 2020. Republicans gained supermajorities in both chambers of the state legislature. The right also won every statewide contest, and Senator Shelley Moore Capito became the first Republican re-elected to the Senate in more than 100 years.
His behavior cannot go unchecked by the Senate.
Both of West Virginia's U.S. senators cast historic impeachment votes in February, with Senator Joe Manchin voting to convict the president on charges of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress.
This is Capito. Not guilty.
While Capito sided with the majority of senators to acquit him.
The Hyperloop Certification Center will be in the state of West Virginia.
The biggest positive economic news in West Virginia came in October, when Virgin Hyperloop picked a site between Tucker and Grant counties to build its new certification facility.
I believe this project is to ground transportation as the moon landing is to space exploration.
The site will test the company's Hyperloop technology. It's touted as the future of transportation and can move people and goods in pods at speeds exceeding 600 miles an hour. Government officials expect it'll generate thousands of new jobs for the region.
It is an incredible day for West Virginia. And I say to all my team and all those that put in all the licks to make this happen, we did it. We did it.
It's expected to break ground in 2021. It's the large headlines every year that we remember. But our team at 5 News works every day to write the first draft of history for every story, even the ones that you may have already forgotten. Many of the stories we just shared aren't done being told. So in 2021, we're going to hit the ground running and pick up right where we left off. to keep you connected in your communities every single day. There was a lot to smile about in 2020. We take a look back at some of our favorite moments when the 5 News Year in Review special returns. Welcome back to the WDTV 2020 Year in Review special. This year, we've seen some of our friends and neighbors do things that lifted our spirits at a time when we needed it most. And our crews met some fantastic people along the way. We end tonight's broadcast with a look back at some of the stories that made us smile in 2020.
We're people with disabilities, and we enjoy our jobs.
What we're trying to do is just help out any way we can.
If the trucks would stop, the world will stop.
They can get enough energy to get them moving, even during this pandemic.
Tears just rushed to my eyes. Like I couldn't hold them back any longer.
I love my mom to death, and I couldn't wait to see her. And then it came, and I just want to lift her up off her feet and just give her a hug, you know.
He's a buddy, like he's always there for you when you're feeling down, and he helps you out through the day.
People need some hope. They need, something to look forward to.
Hi, everybody.
Our main focus is building the community and just loving on people.
It's one of those items that when it makes its way across the dining room, it definitely catches people's attention.
I am the coldest I have ever been.
I'm starting to tear up.
If the children can do it, I can do it.
Live life even when you're almost 104 years old.